How's it going, guys? Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I get these questions all the time. What are your camera settings? What's your dead zone? What's your sensitivities? What's your video settings? Stuff like that. So I'm just going to go through all those settings in one video. So anytime you guys ever want to know what my settings are, come to this video and there you have it. But keep in mind, I do change these settings every now and then. When I'm not feeling too great on what I'm using, I like to switch it up, make it feel a little bit more fresh, a little bit more clean. So I'll go over everything one by one right now. Let's start off with gameplay. All this stuff doesn't really matter too much. I keep cross-platform on because it doesn't really matter. But a lot of you guys, if you don't want to play with console players, that's something you can turn off if you want to. Client send rate, you want this on high. Server send rate high. Bandwidth limit high. I'm not sure if these are all default, but I remember before the update they were not default. I don't know if Sonic's fixed that and made it all default, but if they aren't on these settings, definitely change it to this because it's very important for your internet connection in games and stuff like that. So let's get into camera. All right, so to start, camera shake, you want to have that off. I don't recommend using that at all. If you do use it, I don't know how you don't get headaches every 2 seconds. That thing is the worst setting to have on, I think. But we move on to field of view, and we're using 110 for that. Honestly, I like to mess around with this anywhere from 108 to 110. I think those are all reasonable settings to use. Distance, this varies for me between 270 and 280. I'm just going to give you guys like the back and forth of what I like to switch around. But this is what I'm currently using. This is my whole setup that I'm currently using. Height, I like to switch anywhere between 90 and 110. Those are the 3 settings that I think are very good to use for height. Angle, this all depends on what height you're using because angle affects the height of your camera, of course. So I like to use height and angle to try to work with each other. Stiffness, I like to use anywhere between 40 to 60. Those are all reasonable for me. Anything higher than 60 I think feels a little bit too stiff and a little bit too clunky. Anything lower than 40 feels a little bit too far, a little bit too loose. So I think 40 to 60 is a sweet spot. All right, so for angle, guys, if you're on 90 height, -5 or 6 is fine. If you're on 100 height, -5 or 4 is fine. If you're on 110 height, -3 is fine, or 2. All right, guys, so we move on to swivel speed here. We're currently using 5.5. I've used this setting for a really long time now. It doesn't really matter. This one's all personal preference, to be honest. All these are preference, of course, but this one is 100% up to you, like how fast you want your camera to move around. This is just affecting your right stick and when you see opponents and teammates that are around you, if you want to move it around to see them. Some pros use 10, some pros use 1. Like I said, completely preference. Just mess around with it, see what you like the most. Transition speed, I use 1. If you use 2, I'll show you real quick in free play. You will actually break your neck every time you try to look at the ball. Oh my, it literally just goes from boost to ball instantly. So if you want to use this, go for it. I prefer mine to be as slow as possible. So I like to use just 1. I think it's a very smooth look when you're playing and it just feels really nice. So let's move on to the next one. And here are all my controls. So I'll go down super slow here. Pretty much the only thing I have changed is my power slide from square to L1, and my arrow right I put on square because I don't have anything on square anymore, and my air roll from square to L1 as well. So I put air roll and power slide both on L1. That's pretty much the only difference. And I put what was originally drift and air roll on square. I moved that over to air roll right on square. That's just if I want to do stalls like this and, you know, get some sort of fancy goal, or just for celebration. Stalls look really nice. So I like to do stalls. That's pretty much the only reason why I have arrow right on right now. But let's move back into our controls. We're over here. So yeah, if you move down here, if you are going to use this setup, you have to switch your scoreboard over to R1. I have my voice chat completely disabled. That way, if I press a button by accident, if I kept one of my bindings on there, it wouldn't just keep popping up my voice chat. And yeah, that's pretty much it for my controls. If we go back here, we have controller dead zone. We're at 0.1. That's what I'm currently using. This, I like to switch between 0.1 or 0.05. And for sensitivity, this depends on your dead zone, of course, but I like to use anywhere between 1.3 to 1.1, something like that. 1.1 to 1.2 is fine for aerial. 1.1 to 1.3 is fine for steering for me. Again, this is completely preference. Some pros use this much higher than others. Most use it in this region, but it's completely up to you. Like I said, just give it a go and use whatever feels right to you. Alright guys, so now we can move on to the dodge dead zone setting. I'm currently using 0.60. Now this setting affects the amount of times you will accidentally backflip. It's pretty much just how far back you need to push your joystick in order for you to backflip. So if you have it all the way maxed out, you're gonna have to pull your joystick all the way back to do a backflip. If you have yours all the way to the lowest point, you're gonna have to barely push on your joystick for you to do a backflip or a front flip or a side flip. It doesn't really matter, any flip. That's all this affects. It just affects dodges in general. But I think having this anywhere between 0.50 and 0.75, anywhere between there, is pretty good to use. So I made a mistake, guys. Season 4 RLCS LAN, first round against PSG. I switched this to 0.35 because I thought, maybe lower would make me faster somehow. I don't know. In my head, I was like, maybe lower sensitivity would make me faster in a way. So I tested this, and I swear I was backflipping on like every single double jump for an entire game. And then the next game, I switched it back to 0.55, something like that, and it felt way better. But this is actually a very important setting, so make sure it's not below 0.50 unless you like your stuff being super sensitive, because I'll tell you right now, you can blow on your stick when your dodge dead zone is super low, and you can accidentally backflip. So be very careful with this setting. Find something you like though, find something that feels right. Make sure you're not accidentally backflipping when you're trying to do your fast aerials, because that's super important to be able to do consistent fast aerials, especially at the highest level. Alright, so mouse sensitivity and keyboard input acceleration time. I don't really know what to tell you guys for that because I don't use KBM, but there are pros who do use it, and if you can catch them streaming on Twitch, maybe hit them up, ask them for the settings, and they'll probably give it to you. Interface here, we got our interface skill at 100%, display skill at 100%. That just affects this. There's no real reason to change that. Nameplate skill, we're at 130% here. This I think is pretty important. It helps see where players are on the field much easier, much bigger name tag. I have this anywhere between 130 and 160. 160 is massive though, so I don't know if you want to use that. I'm on 130 right now. Nameplate mode, have this always visible. It's much better than having the little diamond when they get too far away from you. Match notifications, I have time updates only. This just avoids every time you get a save, that thing doesn't pop up in the middle of your screen. This is very good for competitive play if you're trying to take the game super serious, because you just get to focus fully on the gameplay. There's no outside distraction of something popping up right in the middle of your face when you get a save or a shot, etc. Connection quality indicators, this is pretty important, obviously, to let you know when you're lagging out and stuff. Colorblind mode, well, if you're colorblind, you should use this. Some players just like to use it for the sake of using it because it changes up colors a little bit. Force default team colors, I use it just because I don't like the club colors. Metric, doesn't really matter, all up to you pretty much. Ball cam indicator, this is if you want that red thing on the bottom left that indicates when ball cam's on or off. I mean, it's pretty obvious when it's on or off, so it's completely up to you if you want to use that. Some players use it, some players don't. Doesn't really matter, it doesn't affect gameplay at all. Ball arrow, that's the little arrow that's on top of your car here, if you guys don't know. That thing kind of, when you don't have ball cam on, follows around the ball for you, tells you where it's at. But I like to use that. I think it's pretty helpful. For video settings here, I'm using 920 by 1080 and 16 by 9. Display mode's full screen. You can have this on borderless if you want to. I don't think it matters too much. Alright, so texture detail, we're on high performance here. World detail, we're on performance. And particle detail, we're on performance. These are all the lowest settings possible. And this is just to guarantee that I get the smoothest running game that I can. And here we have the same thing going on. We have every single box unchecked except for transparent goalposts, because that's pretty helpful. And on the basic settings, we have anti-aliasing off. We have render quality, high quality. We have render detail, custom, which is pretty much just all this stuff. That's why it's custom. And we have max FPS on 250. Let's move over to audio. This is what I use for audio. I use 75% for master volume and 3% for game volume. This, again, honestly is affected a lot by your Windows settings or whatever your actual sound setting is on your computer. So not that accurate because everyone's is going to be a little bit different, but just find what you like the most. Output type, headphones of course, and in-game music, I have that off. Chat, I didn't really change any of my stuff, I don't think. I changed a couple things, but I don't even use quick chat like ever, so I don't really need to show you guys that stuff. But yeah, that's going to be it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope that answered a lot of your questions. I hope you guys also have a wonderful day or night whenever you're watching this. I love each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much for all the support lately. We just broke 300,000 subscribers, which is so crazy to me. Thank you guys so much. Like I said, I'm going to keep grinding. Hopefully we can make land. That's the goal right now. Yeah, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, and peace.